Let's give it up one more time for Kaylin. Can we do that? That is awesome. That is so incredible. Hey, family and friends of Kaylin that joined us this morning, we're so glad that y'all are here to celebrate her. I'm so glad that y'all could join us in trans this morning. And students in the room, if any of you see that this morning, or you've seen baptism before, and you think to yourself, man, I think that might be a step that I'm interested in taking next, or I have some questions around that a little bit more, I would just love to encourage you to talk to your small group leaders about that today. Let them know that might be something that you're interested in, or maybe it's something you have questions about. We would love for you to do that. Ask your small group leaders about it today. And if we haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Kevin. I'm on staff here, and I'm so excited to be here with y'all. We are in week 2 of our series, On the Right Track. If it's your very first time with us, we're glad that you came and joined us in transit today. We hope that you have an awesome Sunday and that you come back and see us again soon. But for those of you who maybe weren't here last week, whether it's your first time or whether you were just out last week, Lauren was here last Sunday and introduced this series where we're looking at stuff from the book of Proverbs that's just full of all kinds of wise sayings that can help us in life and help us to stay on the right track. And one of the things that I thought was most interesting that Lauren brought up last week is that she said that there's some research out there that says that we make roughly 3,000 different decisions in a single day on average. And that is just blew my mind, and it's just pretty crazy to think about all of the decisions that we make. And so we want to look at how, when we have all those decisions in our life, how can we keep our lives on the right track? How can we make good decisions? Because we want to make good decisions. Maybe we wouldn't think of it that way. Maybe we wouldn't say it that way, but we want to have a better life, right? We want to lead to somewhere good in our life, and so that means that we should be making good decisions. And so as we get started, I want to tell you about a time when I was definitely not on the right track in my life, and you'll see what I mean when I talk about this. See, many years ago, when I was around in college age, my early 20s, I went on this backpacking hiking trip with a bunch of friends of mine. And I lived in Florida at the time, so we actually were making our way up here to North Georgia to do this backpacking trip on the Chattooga River Trail, which is a great trail up in North Georgia near the border of North Carolina, and you actually cross the river something like 35 times on this trail, so you're constantly back and forth across this river. And we were on our way up over Memorial Day weekend, and traffic was insane. There was accidents, there was construction, we were just shut down on the interstate, not moving for hours on end. In fact, I've got pictures of us on the side of the road just walking up and down I-75, the road that leads from Florida to Georgia. And so our trip was massively set back by that. When we finally got up here to North Georgia, it was a whole lot later than we had initially planned on it being. And as we're going through the last little bits of these small towns heading towards the place that we're going to go hike, people in the van started being like, hey, maybe we should get a hotel for the night and crash in a hotel before and just get an early start tomorrow. And as we were talking about it, we ultimately decided nah, that's okay. Tomorrow's going to be great. We'll get a fresh start tomorrow. Let's just get on the trail and set up our camp real quick, and we'll be right out there ready to go first thing in the morning, and it's going to be great, and we're going to have a great weekend. We're not going to let any of this set us back. And so we headed out toward the trail. Now, with our backpacks, we had these little Eno hammocks. You may have seen those before. So really all we needed was a whole bunch of trees to set up our camp. That's all we needed, so we were fine. So we get to the trail. By the time we get there, we've got our gear on, and we're getting ready to go. It is 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, and we are out in the middle of nowhere getting ready to go on this trail. And I don't know if any of you have ever been out in the woods, away from cities late at night, but there is no comparison to the kind of darkness that there is out there like that than what you experience here, maybe just in your backyard or whatever when you're out at night. It is pitch black. You can't see anything. But we had these little headlights that we wore, right? It goes around your head and you got these 2 little LED bulbs, and so we're we're good. We got our headlights. We're going to hit the trail and get going. So we do that. We get on the trail, and about 20, 30 minutes into our hike, we are man, we are just bushwhacking our way through all of this stuff. We can't, we're not figuring out where we are. Let's just go ahead and set up camp. We look around, and there's trees, plenty of trees there to set up. So we go ahead and tie up our hammocks, set up, and we sleep for the night. We're great, we're going to get an early start and get everything's going to be, fresh tomorrow, and it's going to be great. Well, we wake up the next morning, and when the morning light comes and we take a look around, we realize there is no trail anywhere around us. We were not on, whatever we were thinking we were on was not a trail. We were not on the right track. We were way off track. And we had a group of people there and we're like, what do we do at this point? Like, we sent out a few people to go try to find the trail, and it took us a long time in the day to try to figure out where was the trail. And when we found the trail, like which direction are we supposed to be going? And it really set our whole weekend back, and we didn't get to have the same kind of experience that we were hoping to have because of that. And it's crazy when I think about it in the moment when I was living that experience, it was like it's no big deal. You know, we're just lost in the woods a little bit. Now that I'm older and I look back and I have Netflix to see all these specials on people that get lost in the wilderness, I realize, like, sometimes when you get off track just a little bit and you got to get disoriented at night, that's how people go missing, like, forever and never be seen again. So it was actually a pretty terrifying thing that we went through, even though I didn't realize it in the moment. But what happened to us is the night before, as we were getting ready to, figure this out and decide what to do, we fell into a thought trap that maybe you have fallen into before too, and I know I have fallen into it many, many times in my life. And it's this idea, we get to a point where we think that the track I'm on today won't affect where I'm going tomorrow. That the track I'm on today or the decisions I make today aren't really going to have that much of an impact on tomorrow. We were thinking like, hey, it doesn't matter. Like, we're going to wake up and start fresh in the morning, so whether we get a hotel or whether we get on there late or set up camp wherever, it doesn't matter because tomorrow's a new day. And isn't that the kind of inspirational and sometimes naive way of thinking that we have when we do that? Like, there's all these sayings out there like every day is a new beginning and every day is a fresh start to make it whatever you want to make it. And those are great sayings if you're trying to like break a habit or start a new habit or learn something new. That's great. Today's a new day and we can start something new and something fresh. But when we use that to excuse away our decisions, like our decisions don't matter because tomorrow will deal with itself and today is just today and tomorrow's a fresh start, then we fall into that trap and we think that maybe what we do today and the track that we're on, the decisions we make are not gonna have an impact on tomorrow. And for y'all in middle school, you maybe even think this even more so. You're like, hey, I'm just in middle school. And not only am I in middle school, but like it's summer right now, Kevin. Like, don't you realize it's summer? I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. Like, that'll come maybe when school comes, I'll have more decisions to make or whatever. Like, in this moment, can't I just sit in this moment, in this summer, in this middle school season and just not worry about that stuff? Like, I'm going to let future me worry about my goals and dreams and things that I want to accomplish. Right? And we all have goals and that we want to accomplish. Maybe for you, it's just as simple as like, hey, I want to get a better grade in this subject next year. Maybe you're wanting to make a team that you didn't make last year or be a starter for a team that you were on but didn't get a chance to play much this year. Maybe there's something you're trying to learn. Maybe there's a freedom from your parents that you're hoping to earn or get. Whatever it is, we all have goals. Some of us, those goals can be big and in the future too, of like maybe you already know that you want to go to college or where you want to go to college or what kind of career you want to have or what family you want to have. And you think about those things and it's so easy for us to think like, hey, that's a problem for future me to worry about. Right now, I just want to enjoy this season that I'm in and not really think about tomorrow. But the reason that that's a problem is because the truth is that our lives are on a track that is leading to a destination. At all times, our lives are on this track, moving forward, leading to a destination. And no matter how much we may want to at times, we can never just stop that moving forward. We can never just stop that and sit in a season and just enjoy what's going on right now. And we can't freeze time and we can't stop that journey down the track because our lives are on a track heading to a destination. And each decision we make, each thing that we do ultimately decides where we end up. Ultimately decides the destination that we end up at. And I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I know for me, if that was all on me and I were in charge of the plan for that and I had to do it on my own strength and my own wisdom and everything, that I would be terrified of where I would end up. And I know there's some people that know me really well. They'd be like, man, if everything was completely up to Kevin and his plans, I would not want to see where that track ended up and what destination that ended up. But thankfully, I don't have to do that of my own power, and I don't have to make that plan all myself, and I don't have to do it on my own strength because I have got a God and a creator who loves me so much that he was willing to send his son to die for me, who knows me more than I could ever know myself, and who loves me more than I could ever love myself. And he has a plan and a purpose for my life. And he has a plan and a purpose for your life as well, because you were created by a creator on purpose for a purpose. And so we don't have to go through this life and figure out, how do I stay on the right track and what even is the right track? We don't have to do all that alone. God wants us to lean into him as we do that. And so we're going to look at a part of Proverbs that is actually one of the most famous Proverbs of the whole book there. And you probably maybe have read this before. It's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And I'm going to read the whole verse, and then we're going to break it down just a little bit. The verse says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." And so it's a great verse, and it's really encouraging, gives us some direction. If we take it and we break it down, it's actually really cool, because it's actually a 3-step process, 3 action steps that come with a promise for us. And here's what it breaks down to. Step 1, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. The Lord who created every bit of you, who created you exactly the way he wanted you, who has a plan and a purpose for your life. If you could just put your trust in him and trust that, hey, you have a purpose, and I want to know what that is, and I'm going to follow that. That's step 1. And if we're able to do that, if we're able to trust in God in that way, then we move on to step 2, which is to lean not on your own understanding. See, because when you trust in the Lord, even when you do that the best that you can, there's going to be circumstances in your life that you may look around at and you're like, man, I don't know why this is happening to me. I don't know why this is happening around me. And there's going to even be times you're like, man, if there is a God who loves me, like, why is this going on? Why is this happening in the world? And when we try to look at that with our own understanding and the way that we can understand what's going on in the world, we are going to get lost every time. And so God says, hey, if you trust in me, then trust me enough to not lean on how you understand what's going on in your life. Trust me enough not to lean on how you understand the things that are happening. And when we do that, then we can move on to the next step, which is in all your ways, submit to him. Like the song we just sang, we just say, hey, God, you can have it all. You can have it all. I submit to you. I don't want to make my own plan. I don't want to make my own decisions for this and follow my own track, because I don't know where that's going to end up. But you have a great plan for me, and so I want to submit to your ways and how you say I should live my life, because I believe that will end up somewhere way, way better. And if we can follow those 3 steps, right there at the very end of the verse, it comes with a promise. It says this, the promise is, he will make your path straight. Promises that God will make your path straight and will lead you to the destination that he wants for you. Now, one thing it doesn't say here, it doesn't say he will make your paths easy. It doesn't say that your path is not going to have any obstacles in it. It doesn't say that at some point you're going to be down that path and maybe think about turning around. Or maybe that you're going to see a nice, bright, shiny path another direction and be tempted to turn off and go down that path. It doesn't say any of that. It says that he will make your paths straight, that he will guide you to the destination that he has planned for you. Earlier, where he's telling the story, we're talking about that thought trap we get into, that the idea that, hey, what the decisions I make today, the track I'm on today, that's not going to affect my future. Like when it comes time for those goals, when it comes time for those things that I want, future me will take care of that. But we know that that's not true, because we know the truth is that the decisions you make today determine where you go tomorrow. And the reason I know that each and every one of you knows this is true, because if you thought about it right now, you could probably think about a circumstance in your life that you're in now that's a result of decisions you made in the past. That's a result of a decision you made last week to say something that you probably shouldn't have said to your parents. That's a result of a decision you made last year. It's like, hey, I really got to pass this test, and I didn't study, and I just need to look over at that person's, and you're dealing with the consequences of that. Or the consequences of not working hard enough on a sport that you really wanted to start in, but instead you did something else. The consequences of sharing or gossiping about a friend, and now they won't talk to you. You all can probably think of something in your life that you are dealing with that's because of decisions you made in the past. And so you know the decisions you make today, they affect where you're going tomorrow. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to do that on my own. I don't want to make my own plan. And I can tell you this, that there are times that I am not very good at this, that I struggle with wanting to take control of my life and make my own decisions and my own plans. But when I look back at that, I can see every single time that it ended up not in the destination I wanted to be at. And I can look back on my life and I can see moments where I took control and I made decisions, and I may have missed out on opportunities that God had for me in my life because of things I did a month ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. And we don't want that for y'all, because what I've learned in my life is so true for me, is that God's plan for my life is the best track for my life. God's track for my life is the best track for my life, and I believe it's true of each and every one of you, that God has a track for you. God has a plan that he wants to see come true in your life, and it is the best possible plan. And no matter how great you think you could plan your life, it's not going to be as good as what God has planned and in store for you. And so in just a minute, you're going to get a chance to go to small group and talk a little bit about how we can work on this in our lives and what we can do to take this verse and these 3 action steps and put them into practice in our life to help us make better decisions that lead to a better life in the end. Before you do, I'm going to give you a question, and I've got some instructions for a few different groups of people in the room, so hang tight with me. But here's a question I want you to think about as you get ready to head to small group. Imagine you have a time machine that could only jump you forward 10 years. That's the only thing it can do. What would you be most interested to find out about your life in the future? What's the one thing that you're like, well, I want to know about this 10 years from now? What is my life like in this area? I want you to think about that. Be ready to answer that when you get to small group. We're going to go ahead and head on out to groups.